Eating and running, it seems like they shouldn't really go together, but if you want to go further, you're going to have to take some fuel on board. So let's talk about a few ways of doing this. So the first thing to do is to choose your food. Obviously, bars and gels can be really useful as they're small and they're easy to transport around in your pack. Also, food at aid stations is going to be very useful, and carbohydrate drinks work very well for some. One thing to keep in mind is it's good to stick to something that you know. So you may not know anything at the moment, so the way to sort this out is to use it in training. The more that you train with it and get used to it and experiment, the more you can know what your body likes and takes on well. It is really important to stick with what you know. However, on a really long race, what you might find is that taste fatigue kicks in and you just can't stand the bars and gels that you have. So in this case, you may need to resort to something different. And that's not the worst thing, but make sure you don't go with something really wild because you don't want any sort of surprises later on. So for me, I always go with Hammer bars and their gels. That's just what I like to have. You can eat the bars in small chunks and the gels you can have one every 45 minutes. That sorts me right out, and I stick to that for every race. Now that we've got our food, we just eat it all at once and then run up the big hill, right? No, totally not. So the best idea is to go with little and often. This is a massive game changer. So for example, I have a bar which has about 220-ish calories in it. I don't want to consume all 220 of those calories at once, so how I do it is I eat a quarter of the bar every 20 minutes. So that will last me an hour and 20 minutes, which is really useful because you just eat in really small chunks. Also, it is quite hard to eat whilst running because you're bouncing around, your heart rate's quite high. Often people can have digestive issues which lead to being sick and things like that, and you want to avoid this as much as possible. So eating in really small amounts means that you don't overload your digestive system and you can digest it easily over time. You also get to just keep slowly eating bits as you go. This is a really good way of doing it to give you a well sort of balanced calories over time, which will help keep you fueled. The other option you have if you don't want to go with bars and gels is that you can have a carbohydrate drink and sip at it as you go. It's really important though to not just suddenly down the whole thing. It's really easy at an aid station to take on sort of 4 or 5 cups of water, and if this has got carb drink in it, you're taking on a lot of calories all at once, and this can sort of wreak havoc with your digestive system, and you might find yourself being sick in a hedge a couple of miles down the road. So try to avoid taking it on too quickly. However, sipping a carb drink that's maybe in your hydration vest, that sipping it over a couple of hours can work really well. If you are taking things like bars or gels, one thing that's really useful is to sip a little bit of water before and after you take it. So for example, if we take the bars, which I eat every 20 minutes, I take a little quarter of it. What I'll do is I have a Camelback on, I'll take a sip of water from the Camelback, drink that, I will then eat the quarter of a bar, and then I will take another couple of sips from the Camelback just to help the digestive system. This water is just really going to help you consume that food. The same thing with gels as well. They can be quite thick, so if you do take a little bit of water with them, it's just going to help them go down a little better, but try not to overload with the water. Okay, so then there's a few extra things you can do to help you consume this food. So it's easier to consume food at a lower heart rate, because when our heart rate is high, it's pumping blood to the muscles that need it most, so your legs when you're running. So if you lower that heart rate down, it will send the blood to your digestive system a little bit more, so your digestive system will be a little bit more efficient. This will help you consume the food and digest it and use those calories well. The other thing is that it's really hard to eat when you're breathing really heavy and bouncing around. So slowing down to eat is a really good way to consume your calories. Just maybe walking for a couple of minutes. Also with aid stations, it's really easy to, when you see that aid station and everyone's there and they're cheering, to just absolutely pound it in, go really fast, get in, have really high heart rate, and then it's really hard to consume. So what I try to do is when I see an aid station, as soon as I clock it, I start to think about trying to slow down a bit, trying to ease into that aid station. So when I get there, I've got a low heart rate. I can almost walk into an aid station and then I'm ready to eat and take on some food, take on some drink, anything like that, anything that I really want at the time. that sort of fits in with my calories, I can take that at a lower heart rate and then I can carry on walking, and I don't have this sort of horrible trying to get food down whilst breathing really heavy. So you should also think about the terrain when you eat. Obviously, if you're going up an extremely steep hill, you probably don't want to be eating because you're going to be breathing very heavily. You might be a little bit hunched over, which is not great for your digestive system. So eating on a steep uphill is maybe not the best. As I said, I eat every 20 minutes, so I do it by time. However, if that 20 minutes comes round and I'm on a really steep uphill, I'm gonna wait until the top of the hill to eat because it's just better. Also, you might be on a steep descent, which is really quick, and that might not be the best time to eat either, because you might be getting some time gain from going down this hill, and you don't really want to eradicate that by stopping and eating there. You might want to wait until you get to the bottom of the hill onto the flat and then eat there. One other thing is on difficult terrain. You don't want to be trying to unwrap something while you're walking across really tricky terrain in case you slip, or even worse, you might drop your chocolate bar in the mud. Yeah, we don't want that, do we? So just think about the terrain that you're on and when you're going to eat. If you are trying to eat every 20 minutes, it's not going to matter if one of your time blocks is 21 or 22 minutes, or you see a hill come in and you eat in 18 minutes. That's not going to matter. A couple minutes leeway either side is not really going to wreck your race. It's going to be absolutely fine, and actually it may even make it better because you've sort of taken the gain from a downhill. So in summary, try to eat something you know really well, little and often. Try to avoid eating on any steep uphills or steep descents, and watch out for the terrain that you're on. This will really leave you in good stead to keep fueling up, to keep moving for as long as you need to. Experimenting with your food in training is a really good way to get to grips with what you like and what works well for you. You can just jump around in training because it's not the worst time to get it wrong, is it? If you run out from your house and 3 miles away from your house, something goes a little bit wrong, it's only 3 miles to get home. You're not in the middle of a race. So experimenting through training is really worthwhile. Let me know what you like eating in the comments below, or if you have some sort of race plan for your nutrition. I'd really love to hear about it. If you do like ultra running content, then up here is a video all about running up hills on an ultra, or maybe you should walk. And then this video down here is something that YouTube thinks you might like. So it's your choice. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when I upload. I'll see you in the next one.